how to create a service material. Go to logistics, material management, and go to service master, service, and AC03. That's the transaction for service master. Using the service master, we can create a service material. Now, this is very different from creating a raw material or a finished goods or an end-lag material. Let's see how it's different. So click on the new button, click create new service, and we're going to create an electric service. So we're going to call it ELEC serve, same name, say 01, and it's a service, right? And the basic unit of measure is hour. We're going to measure services in hours. Hit enter, and it says maintain a short text. So we're going to give a basic description. What shall we try? We're calling it basic electrical services. Hit enter, and over here you can use a valuation class of service, say 3200, and hit enter. Now that's all you need to create a service master, and go hit save. Let's say we want to create additional services like the advanced service or the labor service. It's really easy to do them. Once again, go to service master and select the material that you have created already. Click on copy and create the advanced service material. So it's not basic, but this is advanced. Advanced electric services, and everything else remains the same. The price is different, right? So save that, and another one. Now this time we are going to create labor. Labor 01, and call it manual labor. And the unit of measure is same, valuation class is same. Save it. So here is what we have done. Using the service master AC03, we have created a basic electric service, and the unit of measure is hours, and the valuation class is 3200. And we have also created advanced electric services and labor using the copy button. It's just an easy way to copy services, right? So we have created this, we have created this, and we have created this. Now that we have created these service materials, let's go create a purchase order again. So go to ME21N, same vendor, 4001, and you don't put that material here, not in this field. You just put a short text. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to procure electric services for a repair of our AC, say, right, or pump repair. So call it pump repair, right, for a quantity of 1, We don't know how many hours. We're just saying a quantity of 1. And in account assignment, somebody has to eat the cost, right? So we're going to put a cost center and put an admin department in charge for paying this, right? And the net price is say $10. That doesn't matter. Just put a number there. And now where do you put all the service materials that we have created? Electric service 1, basic electric service, advanced electric service, labor. We don't put them here. Instead, we put it at the line item level. But in order to do that, we have to classify this material as a service material. We just entered the text, right? We didn't enter the material number here. So how would SAP know that we are creating a service line item? That is done using the item category D. D is for service. Hit enter. Now go to the services tab and enter your services here. What are the services that we have created? Electric service 01, right? You don't need to put a short text, it will all be taken. And put a quantity of 1. And now it's asking you for a price. And we say that the admin is eating the cost of this electric service. We have just created one service here. So we are asking the vendor 4001 for an electric service. Now we don't know that an advanced electric service is required or a labor is required. We don't know that yet. If we knew that in advance, we could very well put them here. So as of now, we are expecting that we need 1 hour of electric service at $10 per hour, right? Copy the PO, double click, copy. Now, do we do a goods receipt? No, we don't do a goods receipt. Instead, close this tab and go to the service entry sheet. So for services, you use service entry sheet. For regular physical goods, you use a goods receipt. Goods receipt versus service entry sheet. So you would have to remember this. Services use service entry sheet. Physical goods use goods receipt. So we are not going to go to MyGo and do a goods receipt. Instead, we are going to go to the service entry sheet. You go click on maintain. So service entry is just a fancy term again for recording services that have been performed. So some services are being performed, like a basic electric service, advanced electric service, labor. So what are they being performed against? Against a PO. What is our PO? Well, it's in our clipboard. So we're going to paste it here. Where are we going to paste it? We should refer it somewhere, right? We refer it here. Enter your purchase order number and click OK. That's easy, right? And then we're going to click on the new button here. So it creates a new entry sheet. So click on new and select your services. and we're going to give it a description. Pump repair, or it could be something else, any kind of description. And what are the services that we have ordered? We have ordered for a basic electric service, right? We've selected our PO, but the services have not come in from the PO yet. So in order for the services from the PO to come in, you have to select those services. So click on this button and click OK. So this is the service that we have asked for, right? So copy those services into our service entry sheet. The only item that we have ordered is a basic electric service, and that's for 1 hour. If you look at this line number 10, there is a check mark here. This means that it's a planned service. So we have already planned for it. Where did we plan for it? Right at the time of creating a PO. So at the time of creating a PO, we know that we needed a pump repair. We know the vendor, and we know that it's going to require roughly 1 hour of electric service. So that's a planned service. Now, the electrician has come in and he is going to perform all the steps that we discussed in the other slide. What are the steps? These steps. Some basic problem identification, and then spare parts identification, fixing the problem, cleaning service, all different kinds of services. But we have ordered only for the basic electric service. How do we add more services, right? That's the real reason why we have come here instead of doing it in the goods receipt. So we cannot add more items at the line item level and goods receipt. So we are using a service entry sheet for that. This is SAP's way of entering services. Can we enter them here? Like so. So electric service, not 01, but 02, quantity of 1. Hit enter. Can we do that? Oops. We have a problem here. If you cannot enter an unplanned service, what's the fun in doing this in a service entry sheet? We have the same problem as we have in MyGo, goods receipt, right? Or is it really a problem? Well, the reason why we cannot enter an unplanned service here is because at the time of creating a PO, we have to plan for it. Well, it's not that complicated. I'm going to tell you. So let's abandon this guy. Cancel. Do you want to cancel the maintenance? Yes. Go back. Go to ME22N. Open the same PO that we have created. And over here, go to the limits tab at the line item level. And here, you can put a limit. For now, we have said that we require $10 or 1 hour worth of service. But there could be more services that are required, right? Like advanced installation, manual labor, so on and so forth. So we're going to set a limit of $100. So $100 is the limit, and it's going to be going against the admin cost center. So anytime we do a service, we need somebody to eat that service. And this guy, admin department, is going to eat the cost of that service. So we have set an overall limit of $100. There are many ways to set the limit, like no limit or limits by contract, but we're not going to go there. Just set an overall limit of $100. And what does that mean? That means that the electrician or the vendor is free to perform any kind of service until a limit of $100. Although we have originally said that the purchase order is for $10, we are giving leeway to the electrician or the vendor because we don't really know what is required to repair that pump. Now, let's save this. Go back and maintain a service entry sheet again. What is the service entry sheet for? It's for this purchase order that we have just entered. Hit enter. And we're going to create a new service entry sheet for pump repair. We're going to adopt the items from the purchase order. Click on this button, enter the purchase order number line item there, click OK. And the first line item is a basic electric service. Well, that's a planned service, we're happy with it. But the electrician is going to say, I need to do an advanced electric service, like an installation. Okay, sure. Go ahead, create them. And the price for that is going to be $20. Sure, no problem. See, this time SAP did not object. It said, okay, it made an entry. And as you can see, this is an unplanned service. What do I mean by unplanned? It's unplanned with reference to the purchase order. So originally, when I'm the owner, I said, I need a pump repair. I didn't know that it's going to require an advanced electric service. I only said, okay, 1 hour of service. But after the electrician has come in, he has seen this, he thought that an advanced electric service is required. Okay, we're going to enter that during the service entry sheet. And maybe you require labor, right? Labor 01, quantity of 1, at a price of say $10 per hour. And that's also an unplanned service. So the electrician says happy with it, he has fixed the problem. Now we go verify it and somebody has to approve it. Right? Because there is no stock to really show what we have paid for. It's a service, right? So somebody has to really approve a service. That was not the case with goods receipt. With goods receipt, because we have goods to show for in the warehouse, nobody needs to approve it. As long as there's a PO, you can go do a goods receipt. Somebody in the warehouse will go do a goods receipt. But a service always needs to be approved by an authority. A manager or somebody who is superior has to approve that the service has been performed. So you can save the service entry sheet. That means that the service has been performed. All good. But that's not the end of service entry. Somebody has to accept it. So you can save this and now a manager has to accept it, right? Let's say I am the manager and I go to change mode and you see this? The service entry sheet is not accepted yet. That's why you see no acceptance here. If I am the manager, I can just go here and click accept and click save. Now the service entry sheet is really complete. So we have procured a basic electric service, an advanced electric service, and a manual labor. During the service entry sheet, if you remember, we had to always enter the prices. $10 per hour for basic electric service or $20 per hour for advanced electric service. Just like how we maintain price lists or info records for regular physical materials or non-stock materials, can we maintain the price for services? Well, the answer is yes. How do you do that? So go to Service Master, Service, and Service Conditions. There are three ways in which you can maintain prices for services. You can just maintain the base price. So electric service base price $10 per hour. Or you could say for the Chicago plant, the price is $11 per hour for basic electric service. And for Chicago, the price is $12 because the price for a service could differ by city or plant. Also, the services could differ with vendor. Vendor 4001 ABC Foods or ABC Electric Services could supply a basic electric service for $11 and somebody else could deliver the same service for $9. So the price of a service is basically dependent on plant, which is the location that you're procuring the services for, and the vendor who is supplying that service, right? So you could maintain prices for a service for any of these possible combinations, or you could do it standalone. So let's see how we do that. So go to service conditions and click on add, and over here you could enter the materials or services. So elect serve 01, the amount is $10 per hour, and unit is USD, and electric service advanced is going to be $20 per hour, and labor is going to be $10 per hour, right? You can save it. Now go back and try and maintain the same prices with plant or without plant. So without plant is going to be like this. So for purchase org US 01, so for vendor 4001, basic electric service is going to cost say $12, and advanced electric service is going to cost $22, and labor is going to cost say $9. Okay, save it. Also, you could create it for a combination of plant and material. So for vendor 4001, if it is Chicago plant, and for basic electric service, the amount is $13. So Chicago say is expensive. And advanced electric service is so much, labor is say $12, and save it. Now you could maintain this for the same vendor for a different plant, say Seattle plant, if you have created a Seattle plant with a different set of prices. This is how you maintain prices. Now if you create another purchase order like so, ME21N, vendor account assignment K, item category D, we call it pump repair for a quantity of 1, and the services that are required are basic electric service, admin department is going to cover the costs. You see the prices automatically come up here, right? And where is this coming from? This is coming from the prices that we have maintained. So let's see what we have done in this chapter. Every time a service material was being entered in the service entry sheet or the purchase order, we had to enter the price, right? Otherwise it was showing that message. So just like physical deliverables or non-stock materials, can we maintain a price list? So for physical materials like raw materials or non-stock materials, we maintain the prices in the purchase info record. For service materials, we maintain the prices in Service Master. We can maintain the prices in 3 different ways. We can maintain a base price, which is just the price for that service material, or we can maintain a price by vendor. And why do we maintain prices by vendor? Because each vendor's price could be different for different kinds of services. So we could maintain price list by vendor. And also we could maintain price list by vendor and plant combination. Meaning the same vendor is going to supply a particular material in the Chicago plant at a particular price and the San Francisco plant at a different price. It's the same material or same service. So these are the 3 different ways in which you can maintain prices for services. And the transaction codes for that are all under Service Master, Service, Service Conditions, and these are the 3 different ways in which you can maintain the prices for services. For a service without plant, and for service with plant and vendor. Right? And these are the different transaction codes. Create, change, display. And when you enter a PO and enter the service material in the PO for that line item, the prices are automatically picked up. Okay, that completes the chapter on pricing. So we'll move on to the exercises in the next chapter. Okay, let's stop here for a minute and see what we have done. For a standard material, the account assignment is blank and the item category is blank. Now for non-stock materials, the account assignment could be a cost center or project or sales order, and the item category is also blank. For services, there is an account assignment that's required. We said The cost center admin is going to eat it. And we also need an item category. For services, the item category is D. When you say D, another new tab called services opens up, and you can enter any services that you are planning to get done from a vendor. If you know the services in advance, you can very well enter them here. But if you don't know, well, we're going to enter them later. Now, this is one major difference between how you create a standard material versus a service material, right? And after that, you take a copy of the PO and you go enter services. How do you enter services? Instead of doing MyGo, you do a service entry sheet. You don't do MyGo, but you do a service entry sheet. So you go to service entry sheet, ML81N, put in your purchase order, and create a service entry sheet. Adopt the services that are planned from the purchase order, and all the planned services that you have created in the purchase order will be defaulted into the service entry sheet. In case you try to enter more materials or more services in the service entry sheet, you should already have set an upper limit in the purchase order. And that's why you get this message if you don't enter that. So go back to the purchase order, and right adjacent to the services, there is a limits tab. So set and limit. So basically, it's like saying I am approving $100 worth of services. And now, after you have done that and saved it, if you go back to your service entry sheet, you can enter unplanned services, as many of them, until the limit hits $100. Well, in this case, the limit did not hit $100, so I could enter two materials, one for the advanced electric service and one for labor. And observe this column, one is planned and two of them are unplanned, right? And after that, every service entry sheet needs to be approved by a signing authority, like a manager or a supervisor. So as soon as you enter the service materials and their costs and prices and quantities, it says that the service entry sheet is not accepted yet. So it shows you that red bar. So somebody in the right capacity has to go and click on this green flag that accepts that service sheet. So he just goes and physically inspects the pump, make sure everything is working, and say, okay, I'm going to accept that. Once that green flag is checked, the service entry sheet is accepted. So the first difference was during PO creation. We said the item category is D. The second difference is we are not going to do MyGo. Instead, we're going to do a service entry, and somebody who's a manager or supervisor is going to accept the service entry sheet. So we have created a purchase order. We have created a service entry sheet against that purchase order. That means the service that we have asked from the vendor has been performed, and somebody in a managerial capacity has accepted that service. What's the next step? The next step is to receive the invoice from the vendor. We're going to see that in the next chapter. So the first question is, Can you create a service line item without a cost element? Well, so far we have not created a service line item without a cost element. We have always used K and admin as a cost center. But can we create a service line item without a cost element? I want you to try it and see. The item category for service is which one of these? Is it D, B, S, or SV? Well, I can rule this out because item categories are just single character. But between D, B, and S, what is an item category for service? The third question is, which of the following is necessary to enter additional line items in service entry sheet? Well, in the service entry sheet, when we wanted to add additional line items, something has to be set at the line item level in the purchase order. Which of these had to be set? Number 4, for service items, accounting happens when? During goods receipt or service entry sheet? Number 5, transaction code for service master is which one of these? Number 6, transaction code for service entry sheet. Well, I don't want you to really remember these transactions. The real reason I'm asking these questions here in the exercise is so that you can go and refer back to your SAP system, go to the service entry sheet and see the transaction yourself. It just ensures that you are really in touch with your IDES system. Number 7, what are the disadvantages of using NLAG material for procuring services? Well, we have tried to procure a service using NLAG material, right? And then we couldn't do it for some reason. So why? Well, this is something we have not covered in the chapter so far. So don't worry about this question and these questions too. Number 11, which following combination are possible in standard SAP to maintain service material prices? So there were 3 ways in which you could maintain prices for service materials. Which of these combinations represent those 3 ways in which you can maintain prices? Number 12, there is no need for the user to create a MyGo transaction for service materials. Is this true? Well, we have seen material documents, right? How were they created? So did we have to create them or not? Alright, let's solve the exercises. Can you create a service line item without creating a cost element? No, you cannot. You always have to include a cost element. Remember, there were 2 things at the line item level that we had to do to make it a service item. The item category had to be set to D. This was the primary driver to make that line item service. And service line items always need a cost element. Somebody has to eat that cost, and that somebody, that department or the order or a production order or whatever, has to be specified in the account assignment field. Second question, the item category for service is D. So if you answer the first question, you almost answered the second question, right? Which of the following is necessary to enter additional line items in service entry sheet? Not delivery schedule, not gross price, but limit. Remember, we have set a limit of $100 at the line item level. And without setting that limit, we were not able to enter unplanned items in the service entry sheet. Number 4. For service items, accounting happens where? Well, it doesn't happen in the service entry sheet. It happens in the goods receipt, but the trick here is you don't do the goods receipt physically yourself. You just do the service entry sheet, and this automatically does a goods receipt with a dummy material and creates the material document. Number 5. Transaction code to create the service master AC03. Transaction code for service entry sheet is ML81N. And like I said, just go refer to your IT system for transaction codes. What are the disadvantages of using NLAG material for procuring services? Well, for starters, adding additional materials at the goods receipt level is not an ideal way. It breaks the link between the purchase order and the goods receipt. Well, there is a way to automatically create a PO, but that's convoluted, number 1. And number 2, it breaks the relationship between the purchase order and the goods receipt. There's really no elegant way in which you could add more services at the goods receipt level. And that's the reason why we could not use NLAG material to order services. Which of the following combinations are possible in standard SAP to maintain service materials? Well, vendor and service material is possible, yes. Service material and plant is possible, yes. Vendor, service material and plant is also possible. And service material is also possible, just the service material. So all of these are possible. Number 12. There is no need for the user to create MyGo transaction for service materials. That's true. We don't need to create it. We just need to do the service entry sheet, save it, accept it, and a MyGo transaction and a material document will automatically be created behind the scenes.